The moment I opened the door to find my 5-year-old daughter sitting on my boss's lap, giggling as they colored together in my living room, I knew my carefully separated worlds had just collided in the worst possible way. Mia looked up with those innocent eyes and said, "Daddy, Miss Parker says she's going to be my new mommy for pretend." And just like that, my heart stopped beating. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional journeys that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Your support means everything. I never planned for any of this to happen. 6 months ago, I was just James Collins, 32, widowed, raising my daughter alone, and working as the executive assistant to Olivia Parker, the intimidating CEO of Parker Industries. The same Olivia Parker who was now sitting in my modest apartment, looking completely out of place in her designer clothes, yet somehow fitting perfectly into the picture with my daughter. "We need to talk," Olivia said, her voice carrying that same authoritative tone she used in board meetings. But there was something else there, vulnerability I'd never seen before. After putting Mia to bed with 3 bedtime stories and her favorite stuffed elephant, I returned to the living room where Olivia waited, her fingers nervously tapping against my worn coffee table. "I wouldn't ask this if I had any other option," she began, her usual confidence wavering. "My grandmother is dying." The bluntness of her statement caught me off guard. In 3 years of working for her, Olivia had never mentioned a grandmother. "She raised me after my parents died," Olivia continued, her voice softening. "She's old-fashioned and her one wish has always been to see me settle down before she passes. I've told her for years that I'm married, that I'm happy. I've even worn a ring." I glanced down at her left hand, noticing for the first time the diamond that had always been there. I'd assumed it was just jewelry. "You want me to pretend to be your husband," I said slowly, the realization dawning on me. 6 months, tops. The doctors say that's all she has left. Olivia's eyes, usually sharp and calculating, were pleading. "I'll double your salary. Triple it. Whatever you want." "And Mia? She'd be part of it. My grandmother would love her." Olivia hesitated. "I know it's a lot to ask." It was more than a lot. It was insane. But then I thought about my mounting bills, Mia's upcoming school tuition, and the leak in our bathroom I couldn't afford to fix. "So, we're sharing a bed?" I asked, trying to understand the full scope of what she was proposing. Olivia's cheeks flushed slightly, the first time I'd ever seen her blush. "Only when necessary for appearances. My family estate has plenty of rooms." I should have said no. Every rational part of my brain was screaming to decline. But something else, something I couldn't quite name, made me nod and say, "Okay." 6 months. Little did I know those 6 months would change everything. The first week at Olivia's family estate was a culture shock. The sprawling mansion in the countryside made my apartment look like a closet. Mia, however, adjusted with the resilience only children possess, immediately charming Olivia's grandmother, Eleanor, a sharp-witted woman whose frail body betrayed the strength of her spirit. "So you're the man who finally tamed my Olivia," Eleanor said during our first dinner together, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "I was beginning to think she'd invented you." Olivia squeezed my hand under the table, our agreed-upon signal for, "Help me out here." "Actually, she tamed me," I replied, surprising myself with how easily the lie came. "I was a mess when we met. She gave me structure, purpose." That part wasn't entirely untrue. Before Olivia hired me, I had been struggling to find steady work after Sarah's death. Eleanor smiled approvingly. "And this beautiful child," she said, turning to Mia who was carefully cutting her chicken into tiny pieces. "You're a blessing, my dear." "Thank you," Mia replied with the politeness I'd drilled into her. "Daddy says I'm his sunshine." "Well, now you can be sunshine for all of us," Eleanor said, and something in her tone made my chest tighten. That night, after tucking Mia into her new princess bed in a room bigger than our entire apartment, I found Olivia in the master bedroom, making up a pallet on the floor. "What are you doing?" I asked. "I'll take the floor." "You can have the bed," she said without looking up. "Don't be ridiculous. The bed is huge. We can share it without even knowing the other person is there." Olivia hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. But stay on your side." We lay in awkward silence that night, a vast expanse of expensive sheets between us. I could hear her breathing, could smell the faint scent of her shampoo. It reminded me how long it had been since I'd shared a room with anyone other than my daughter. "Thank you," Olivia whispered into the darkness, just as I was drifting off. "For doing this." "You're paying me well enough," I mumbled back. "Still. Thank you." The weeks that followed fell into a strange rhythm. During the day, Olivia worked remotely, commanding her empire from her grandmother's study. I took care of Mia, explored the grounds, and found myself helping Eleanor with her garden, something that brought the old woman immense joy. "She works too hard," Eleanor told me one afternoon as we pruned roses together. "Always has. Even as a child." "She's very dedicated," I replied diplomatically. "Dedicated to avoiding life, perhaps." Eleanor's hands, spotted with age but still steady, snipped a dead bloom. Before her parents died, Olivia was different. She laughed more. I tried to imagine Olivia laughing freely and couldn't quite picture it. The most I'd ever gotten from her was a wry smile when I'd made a particularly clever comment during a meeting. "What happened to your wife?" Eleanor asked suddenly, catching me off guard. For a moment, I considered maintaining the lie, that Olivia was my first and only wife. But something about Eleanor's direct gaze made me tell the truth. "Car accident. 3 years ago. Mia was just 2. Eleanor nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Grief changes us. Hardens us, if we let it." That evening, I found Olivia in the library, surrounded by papers, her glasses perched on her nose as she frowned at her laptop. Without thinking, I brought her a cup of tea, exactly how she liked it from the office. "Your grandmother thinks you don't laugh enough," I said, setting the cup beside her. Olivia looked up, surprised. "What?" "She said you used to laugh more. Before your parents died." Something flickered across her face, pain, quickly masked. "She has a selective memory." "Do you ever take a break?" I asked, nodding toward the mountain of work. "Do you?" she countered. "I'm taking one right now." A small smile tugged at her lips. "Touché." "Come on," I said impulsively. "Mia wants to watch a movie before bed. Join us." Olivia hesitated, glancing at her work. "The world won't end if you step away for 2 hours," I added. To my surprise, she closed her laptop. "What movie?" That night, the 3 of us crowded onto the oversized couch in the media room, watching an animated film about a princess who didn't need rescuing. Mia sat between us, occasionally reaching for both our hands during the scary parts. Halfway through, she fell asleep, her head resting against Olivia's arm. I expected Olivia to stiffen or move away, but instead, she gently stroked Mia's hair, a tender gesture that caught me off guard. "She looks like you," Olivia whispered, her eyes still on the screen. "Everyone says she looks like Sarah. She has your expressions. The way you furrow your brow when you're concentrating." I hadn't realized Olivia had ever paid that much attention to me. As the weeks turned into months, the lines between pretense and reality began to blur. We developed inside jokes, shared glances across the dinner table, and found ourselves gravitating toward each other even when Eleanor wasn't around to witness our marriage. One rainy afternoon, I found Olivia teaching Mia how to play chess in the sunroom, both of them cross-legged on the floor, completely engrossed. "The queen is the most powerful piece," Olivia was explaining. "She can move in any direction, as far as she wants." "Like you," Mia said with childlike certainty. Daddy says you're the boss of everyone. Olivia laughed, a real laugh that transformed her face. Not everyone. Just at work. Are you the boss of Daddy? I stepped into the room then. What do you think, Pumpkin? Mia considered this seriously. I think you're both the boss sometimes. Olivia met my eyes over Mia's head, and something passed between us, an acknowledgement of how domestic this all felt, how natural. That night, I woke to find Olivia thrashing in her sleep, murmuring frantically. Without thinking, I reached for her, gently shaking her awake. Hey, it's okay. You're dreaming. She sat up, disoriented, her hair falling around her face. James? You were having a nightmare. Olivia took a shaky breath. I was back there. In the car. With my parents. I understood immediately. You were in the accident? She nodded, drawing her knees to her chest. Back seat. I survived with just a broken arm. They weren't so lucky. I didn't offer empty platitudes. Instead, I simply sat with her in the darkness, our shoulders touching. Does it ever get easier? She asked after a while. Losing someone like that? Not easier, I said honestly. Different. The grief changes shape. Some days it's a boulder crushing your chest. Other days it's just a stone in your pocket, heavy, but you can carry it. Olivia was quiet for so long I thought she might have fallen back asleep. Then she said, I've never told anyone about the nightmares. Not even your therapist? She gave a short laugh. I don't have a therapist. Olivia, you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. How do you not have a therapist? This made her laugh again, more genuinely. I don't like appearing weak. It's not weakness to need help sometimes. She turned to look at me, her face half illuminated by the moonlight streaming through the window. Is that why you agreed to this arrangement? Because you needed help? Partly, I admitted. The money makes a difference for Mia's future. And the other part? I hesitated. I think I wanted to see who Olivia Parker was outside the office. And? What's the verdict? Still deliberating, I said with a small smile. But the evidence is promising. The next morning, something had shifted between us. Small touches lingered. Glances held a beat too long. We moved around each other with a new awareness that both thrilled and terrified me. Eleanor noticed, of course. Nothing escaped her sharp eyes. You two remind me of Harold and me when we were young, she said one evening as we sat on the terrace, watching Mia chase fireflies across the lawn with Olivia. Always orbiting each other, even when you're trying not to. I felt my face warm. It's complicated. Love usually is, Eleanor replied, patting my hand. But worth it. I wanted to correct her, to explain that this wasn't love, it was an arrangement, a business deal with an expiration date. But the words stuck in my throat as I watched Olivia laugh, really laugh, as Mia tugged her toward a particularly bright cluster of fireflies. 4 months into our charade, Eleanor's health took a sudden downturn. The house filled with medical equipment and nurses. Olivia threw herself into her grandmother's care with the same intensity she applied to her business, barely sleeping, barely eating. I found her one night, slumped over in a chair beside Eleanor's bed, her hand still holding her grandmother's. Gently, I woke her and led her back to our room. You need to rest, I insisted when she tried to return to Eleanor's bedside. I can't, she said, her voice breaking. What if while I'm not there? The nurses will call us. You're no good to her, exhausted. Olivia's composure finally cracked. I can't lose her, James. She's all I have. Without thinking, I pulled her into my arms. That's not true anymore. She stiffened, then melted against me, her tears soaking my shirt. I held her until she fell asleep, then carefully laid her on the bed, brushing the hair from her face. It was in that moment, watching her sleep, vulnerable and human, that I realized I was falling in love with my boss. The realization should have sent me running. Instead, it settled into my chest like a truth I'd known all along. The next morning, Eleanor asked to see me alone. Her room was dim, the curtains drawn against the bright summer sun. She looked smaller somehow, diminished against the pillows, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. "Sit," she commanded, patting the edge of her bed. I obeyed, taking her frail hand in mine. "I need to know," she said without preamble, "that you'll take care of her when I'm gone." "Olivia is the most capable person I've ever met," I said truthfully. "Capable, yes. But terrible at taking care of herself. Terrible at letting people in." Eleanor's grip tightened on mine with surprising strength. "She loves you, you know. And that little girl of yours. I can see it, even if she can't admit it yet." My heart stuttered. "Eleanor. Don't," she cut me off. "I may be old, but I'm not blind. Whatever brought you two together, and I suspect there's more to that story than I've been told, it's real now. Don't let her push you away when I'm gone. She'll try." I didn't know what to say. How could I promise to stay when our entire relationship was built on a contract with an end date? "Promise me," Eleanor insisted. "I promise to try," I said finally, the most honest answer I could give. Eleanor seemed satisfied with that. "Good. Now bring my great-granddaughter in. I want to see her smile once more." 2 weeks later, Eleanor passed peacefully in her sleep. Olivia was there, holding her hand, with Mia and me at her side. In her final moments, Eleanor had looked at the three of us and smiled, as if seeing something that brought her peace. The funeral was small but elegant, just as Eleanor would have wanted. Olivia stood dry-eyed and rigid throughout, accepting condolences with practiced grace. But I could see the cracks in her armor, the way her hands trembled slightly when she thought no one was looking. That night, after putting an unusually quiet Mia to bed, I found Olivia in Eleanor's garden, sitting among the roses her grandmother had tended so lovingly. "You should come inside," I said softly. "It's getting cold." "Our deal is done," Olivia said without looking at me. "Eleanor's gone. You don't have to pretend anymore." Her words hit me like a physical blow. "Is that what you think I've been doing? Pretending? Isn't it?" She finally turned to face me, her expression carefully blank. "I hired you to play a part. You did it well. Now the show's over." I sat beside her on the stone bench. "What if I don't want it to be over?" Something flickered in her eyes, hope, quickly suppressed. "Don't be ridiculous, James. You work for me. So fire me." "What? Fire me," I repeated. "Then I won't work for you anymore." Olivia stared at me, confusion replacing her carefully constructed indifference. "You need the job. I need you more." The words hung between us, honest and terrifying. Olivia's breath caught. "These past months," I continued, "they weren't pretend for me. Not the way I feel about you. Not the way Mia feels about you. James. I know you're scared. I am too. But Eleanor was right, you've become family to us. And I think we've become family to you too." Olivia stood abruptly, pacing among the roses. "You don't understand. I'm not good at this, at family, at relationships. I'll